Hello furniture friends, if you want to see this dresser get not one but two makeovers, keep watching. This bulky looking MCM Dixie brand modern dresser with streamlined drawer handles has been a catch-all in the shop, but that changes today. One way I can try to visually soften its chunky look is by choosing a soft paint color for it. Underneath the damaged veneer, some pressed wood is visible. However, the skeleton, base, legs, and handles are all made of solid wood, and I'm definitely taking that into consideration for the new design. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because this guy needs a good rinse on the outside and the inside a good vacuuming. And I'm not sure where this glue residue came from, but we have to get rid of that too. I'm gonna be applying some glue gun over the glue gunk, and I usually let it sit 5 minutes, and then with a paint scraper I come back and scrape it all out. Now that this part has been taken care of, I can start scuff sanding using my orbital sander from Surfprep and 120 grit. This is going to promote bonding for priming. I believe that the handles are the biggest reason this guy looks clunky, but not so much I can do about it since the drawer sides were added on top of the screws that keep the handles in place, making it really tough for me to remove them without compromising the structure of the drawer. Would it be possible to soften their look by keeping them natural? I'm willing to test the waters and see. For this part, I make use of different tools to remove the dark finish. I want to add more of that natural tone towards the base of the dresser, and that's why I'm also removing the legs to sand them bare. Once I was done with all the sanding, this guy needed one last washout before we could start making any repairs. I like using a TSP alternate for this part. To cover it up, the busted veneer, I'm mixing this two-part filler called Bando, and I'm using a piece of tape to help me keep the Bando in place up until it dries. The Bando repairs are gonna take half hour to dry, and then I'm gonna be coming back to sand them smooth. Meanwhile, I'm bleaching the legs and the handles to remove the orange tint from the wood. If you would like to watch a full tutorial about wood bleaching, check out the tab on the upper right corner so you can watch that next. For today's look, I applied 2 rounds of this wood bleach 2-step solution from Sensor. Today I'm diluting the color Greige from UPPAINT and apply a color wash, wiping off the excess almost right away. The wood bleach made a huge difference, and then with this color wash, this natural look is looking exactly how I pictured it, and the same treatment that I'm applying to the legs is gonna be applied on the handles. we have left to do before we can start priming is sanding those repairs we made with Bando with a 220 grit or 120 grit to make them all nice and smooth. Sanding always kicks dust out, so of course I always make sure to get rid of that before I start priming. The handles are getting taped to keep the primer away. I'm gonna be using Bin Shellac based primer to black any veneer tannings. By the way, don't freak out if your primer looks like this when you first open the can. Just give it a good mix and it'll be good to go. In case you're new to the channel, or you might have not noticed, but anytime I'm applying a Bin Shellac based primer, I like using my Home Bright sprayer. I just have to make sure to clean it with the nature alcohol right away after I'm done using it. My primer was coming out a little spattery. I just let it dry, and after applying the second coat, as I expected, the surface was feeling a little lumpy, but nothing to fret about. With a 220 scuff sand, it will turn buttery smooth. This super sponge from Gator is great because it molds to the rounded surfaces, which means that when I sand, it won't remove any of the primer. For the body, I chose this beautiful color also from UPPAINT called Fountainhead. If you haven't heard of this paint brand before, it's because it hit the market not that long ago. And anytime I try a new paint brand, I like to brush it and roll it so I can give you guys all the ins and outs. But in a few minutes, I'm gonna tell you why I was so impressed with its durability. For this project, I ended up applying a total of 2 coats, waiting about 1 hour between the first and the second one. The following day, I protected the surface with this furniture salve that had a lemon scent. I thought it smelled delicious. And remember how I said at the beginning that this dresser got not 1 makeover, but 2? Let me explain to you in a minute. For now, let's take a quick look at how the dresser started at the beginning of the video. And this is how it looked after that first makeover. Again, this was taken 6 months ago. I think the color is beautiful. It softened the look of the piece. Love it as a sideboard, in a nursery room. But after 6 months, this beauty was still sitting in my house. For those of you who might not know, I refinish furniture as a full-time business, and this is not a good thing. These are just a few of the messages of the many I receive over the months. Many people message just to tell you how beautiful your work is. The amount of appointments that were scheduled to come and see it equal the amount of husbands that didn't agree with my potential buyers in the purchase. In 5 years in the business, this is my first time repainting anything, so here we go. But first, let's have some coffee because let's be honest, this channel wouldn't even exist unless there was plenty of caffeine around. Just a few more sips and here we go. First step, let's remove any furniture salve residue. I'm gonna be using some acetone and I'm gonna give the piece a good scrub using this 000 steel wool. For this part, make sure that you wear some gloves that are resistant and not the single-use one because they won't stand a chance against the acetone. I'm also gonna be using a respirator because, as you know, acetone evaporates and we don't wanna breathe any of those fumes. So for safety purposes, wear one of these. Why do we even have to bother to remove the furniture salve? And how is furniture salve different than wax? Well, the only difference is that furniture salve has a high hemp seed oil content, which makes it softer and easier to apply, but it also contains different types of wax. And unless I remove any sort of hemp oil or wax residue from the surface, the new paint won't stick. As soon as you start scrubbing the acetone, you're gonna notice how the wax starts getting loose. And if we don't remove it, we'll re-solidify it, so it's important to wipe it off immediately. The temperatures were so cold here that the wax kept re-solidifying on me, so I actually had to close the garage door. But as soon as I was done removing the wax, I reopened it. So why is air ventilation so important? Because any rag, shop paper towel, steel wool can become combustible, so you need to leave them outside and let them air dry. And yes, I'm giving the dresser one last rinse before sanding. I'm using 120 grit. Let's get this beauty prepped. In case you're wondering why are you sanding again if you already remove all the wax and the furniture salve, when I scrubbed the surface with acetone, a little bit of that paint came off in a couple different spots, which by the way, I was super surprised that only a little bit of paint came off considering that acetone is so strong, which really speaks volumes about the durability of this paint. The beauty of painting something a second time is that if you prep good the first time, this time around should be a lot easier because the dresser is already primed. After spending all those hours sanding the handles and the legs for the first makeover or the first color of this piece, I'm deciding to keep them as they are for this second makeover. I'm just gonna apply a new color to the rest of the body. Do you have any guesses to what color I chose for the second makeover? Well, it only made sense to me that if the dresser didn't sell when it had a light color on it, that I should go for a dark one. So I went for this slime black color from General Finishes, from the milk paint line, and I needed to add quite a bit of water to this because it was on the thick side. But once we got to the right consistency, I was able to put my Flexio 3500 sprayer from Wagner to work. Painting during a cold day will make drying times longer, and with that, sometimes a few paint drips. I tried going over those while the paint was still wet and kept going. And when I say that cold days make the drying times longer, I'm talking it can take hours for this first coat to dry. I ended up applying 3 coats on this guy. For top coat, I'm applying 3 coats of high performance flat from General Finishes. I think they forgot to add water to this product. It wouldn't go through my filter. So I did something I've never done before. I ended up adding water to my top coat. But just so you know, this is not common practice. To remove any dust that might be just lingering around, I do a quick wipe down using a top cloth. The day's a bit warmer today, so I'm applying a total of 3 coats, waiting 1 hour between one coat and the next. Before we take a final look, let's do a quick recap of what the journey of the dresser has been in today's video. This is where it all started. This is how it looked 6 months ago. And this is how it looks currently. Which color is your favorite? If you were my potential buyer, would you buy the light color version or this dark color version? Let me know in the comments. Do you think this color will sell? I sure hope so. Check out the community tab where I will keep you posted when this one sells. I will see you guys next time.